Hey YouTube, you remember back in the day when we had expansion packs instead of DLC, instead of battle passes, instead of loot boxes, instead of etc, etc? I just had to put that joke in somewhere, and hell, why not just kick off the video with it, since we're talking about Allied Assault's breakthrough expansion now. Because Allied Assault was the early big push for Medal of Honor to get onto the PC platform back in the day when it looked like this, and you were lucky to get resolutions available beyond 720p, it was the perfect place for EA to extend their product and get some more money out of the players that were invested. I don't know if it was a noticeable game in the space, but Allied Assault did come with multiplayer server access, since that's kinda how it just used to work back in the mid-2000s times, when LAN parties were how you'd get people in FPS deathmatch groups, which would explain why these exist in the first place, the expansions I mean. I gave proper credit to Allied Assault, but at the end of the day, that game is not all that replayable due to the failure of not having any compelling story or characters or representation of World War II, and unfortunately, like most games in the genre, not really any unique gameplay to keep players coming back to the campaign to play it multiple times. So multiplayer is what really extends the life of these early FPS packages that end up falling into that trap. Since Breakthrough is an expansion pack, and one that was made with actual care and respect for its audience, surprisingly, it's pretty much a second Allied Assault game as a whole, clocking in around 7 hours, with essentially the same mission count, maybe a couple less, but the ones that are there are slightly expanded to make up for the lack of the hard numbers. This expansion runs parallel to the original game, since Breakthrough also goes through the entirety of the World War II period, obviously in different places. The game kicks off with an Arabian-esque theme, since they decided to go to the North Africa campaign, and that gives us our first glimpse of the additional quality that you paid handsomely for back in the day, before EA could simply expect hundreds of thousands of users to buy any of their products due to simply existing. Breakthrough expansion was made in a time when developers and publishers actually earned their keeps. The game looks similar to Allied Assault, but I can tell that the developers took some sharpening stones to their engine and assets and were able to present it using higher quality graphics. It's not much, but I can swear that there's actual improvement. It looks like a product that wasn't literally being designed parallel to the original game like it is in modern times. There's a bit more detail, weapons, vehicles, and enemies look a little bit sharper, and of course, the differing theaters give us a more intriguing backdrop to shoot Nazis in and blow shit up American style. Obviously, the quote-unquote story is exactly the same as the original, and the original game, where we're American dingus going on another set of single-handed missions to topple the entire Reich ourselves, with an occasional visit by Corporal Cardboard saying a line about how badass we are, or pointing us to our objective exclusively. Again, I'm not expecting the moon here, but you know, FPSs could still try. Do what I said in the previous review, add some characters in, introduce us, and involve us with them during some downtime. Give us some time to really appreciate the big moments of the horrifying meat grinder, because if you just plop us onto a map, point us in a direction, and kick us in the ass, then the game as a whole is going to be less impactful than getting involved with a plot hook or a recurring character, simply because doing it all gameplay does not give any investment into what the game is actually presenting. If your world, the entire thing, is simply filled with nothing but targets, then the only thing to care about is the shooting. A task that gets so monotonous that you can do it in 100 other games, in 100 different worlds, in 100 different settings and time places. But while I will complain, because it's not the best that it could possibly be, again, the expansion team still did solid work. Not only with improving the graphics and shining up the old Allied Assault package, but also giving us some differential gameplay. We get that motorcycle turret section, we get to ride around in that tank I talked about, we get to do stealth for like 5 minutes, and you also get to arrive in the market garden level via glider. This is some pretty cool higher octane moments that can really drum up some excitement in the moment. Otherwise, it is just shooting the dudes in a variety of World War II dioramas. We do get a couple additional guns, or rather a couple more obscure guns from the base game have been made more commonplace, which are the trenching shotgun and the top-fed magazine machine gun. I'll show a clip here of the gun if you're not sure what I mean by the iconic machine gun that has the mag upside down, because obviously I don't remember what the gun's called. Of course, your friendly neighborhood problem solver, the sniper rifle, returns, thankfully not reprising his role as your only lifeline, since EA's developers really have seemed to fix their difficulty curve issues. It seems like it was an aberration since I slid through most of my objectives in the expansion, only barely slowing down. Only helping to make that almost 7-hour runtime seem much more impressive by the fact that I wasn't getting stuck in a fucking difficulty spike out of goddamn nowhere. A notable section of obtuseness, and that's the best way I can describe it, was the one time we were fiddling around with mortars, which is a combination of bad tutorials and too many enemies in comparison to how unwieldy it is to dial in and fire the mortar with any reasonable degree of success. It's literally like shooting fish in a barrel if you half-assed filling it up with bait. I still am disappointed that they threw out a lot of the adventure game style sections and stealth mechanics as a replacement for more shooting the dudes, since those slower, methodical sections of the game are a sharp contrast and welcome distraction from the humdrum of constant mag feeding and bad idea skulls. It gives us a chance to do some character work, have to exercise our problem-solving skills, come up with a strategy other than point and man falls over, and gives you so many opportunities to do something tense or comedic to liven up the joint. I remember that Medal of Honor game I looked at and how it included the Nazi bar scene, which was really fun and goofy, having to sneak around enemies that were really easy to convince to punch each other in the teeth over broken beer glasses. That's the type of experience that you lose when you decide to remove it altogether. Hell, even modern Call of Duty has this exact same sort of stuff, like how I remember back to that Soviet or Russian command mission in one of the last 2 Call of Duty games that had a campaign in it, where you have to sneak past the official ranks in order to get information, documents, and prisoners sorted out to get to your ultimate objective with dire consequences of immediate execution if you flubbed it too hard because, you know, you're in the enemies behind the lines. You're in their command center. Of course they're going to shoot you in the face if they find you. That was fun, and not only that, but it was essentially a whole mission in of itself. As a fact, it was probably only half that mission, since you obviously need to break out the machine guns at some points in an FPS, and especially a Call of Duty game, but hey, it was good enough to remember while it lasted. Breakthrough expansion as a whole is exactly what an expansion pack should provide to its built-in audience. More of the same game, just in a different place. I mean, ideally you'd want to put a spin on it by going with a totally different story or gameplay style, but at least they get the core idea right. Breakthrough will take you to places such as the North Africa campaign, the Market Garden disaster, a bombed out Belgian or French town, and finally getting us to a lovely German castle in an appropriate downpour, waiting for the bombers to come in and save your sorry entrenched ass. It's a fun odyssey across another museum collection that Medal of Honor just likes to do, keeping it interesting and fresh as you gun down the worst Germans and their collaborators using guns, bigger guns, and that fucking useless mortar. The game looks better, it plays better thanks to the continued research on difficulty curves producing results, and it's the game you remember from Allied Assault again, a fresh, old-school, health bar FPS from the rollicking days of the World War II genre that Call of Duty continually dips into without giving much of a shit for what it actually means. I'd highly recommend it for the fans of the original game, for Medal of Honor in general, but less so for those outside of that audience since it doesn't provide much uniqueness in its genre. There's no great story, there's no interesting characters, or anything out of the ordinary to be found in Breakthrough, other than it being a goddamn solid expansion. The gameplay's the same old story, the stealth has been removed and not replaced with much else, and your war buddies are more useless than ever here in this game. It's a great title, and I love that EA put the effort in back in the day, but that doesn't make it all that exceptional. It just means that everyone did the job that they were expected to do, and they did it really well. Maybe Spearhead will bring something new to the table, another jaunt in the meat grinder. What will we be seeing on the other side of the continent? I guess we'll just have to figure out when the boat drops.